afternoon and welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for the EFL Midweek Preview Show. We've got lots of EFL action tonight across all three divisions. Lots of action in the Championship, a fair few in League One and 2 fixtures in League Two. We're going to be hand selecting some of the better games during tonight and chatting about them during this show. My name is Sam Moult, the Chief Editor of footballleagueworld.co.uk, and I'm joined by 2 of my colleagues, Marcus Ali and Chris Gallagher. Marcus, how are you getting on?
Yeah, really well. Thanks, Sam. I seem to say it every time I'm on, but it really does feel like every game matters in the EFL at the moment. And this midweek slate is no different. So looking forward to talking about some of the more pivotal games on tonight.
Yeah, some real crucial fixtures this evening for sure. Chris, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks. And yeah, I echo that. There's every weekend, every match week, there seems to be season-defining games, and it's no different tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a reminder to all those watching, we are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So get yourself in the comments. Are you off to an EFL game this evening? What are your score predictions? And let us know what you think of Chris and Marcus's score predictions for the following games we're going to be talking about. So let's get straight into it. Okay, let's start off in the Sky Bet Championship. We've got a mammoth game this evening at Bramall Lane. Alfie Burns, our journalist, will be there tonight for Football League World. Sheffield United, they take on Middlesbrough in a big game in the race for the playoffs, 6th versus 7th. Middlesbrough currently sitting in 6th position, 1 point ahead of Paul Heckingbottom's Blades. A big game. Obviously, Chris Wilder returning to Sheffield United for the game this evening. Right, Marcus, we'll come to you first. This just is a really big game in the second tier tonight, isn't it?
Absolutely enormous. I must say I'm a little bit jealous of Alfie getting what a great seat he'll have for it. Yeah, what a spectacle. Wilder returning to Bramall Lane. But not only that, on the pitch, there's going to be huge implications on the league table as well. 2 sides banging form, of course, Boro fresh off the back of knocking Tottenham out the FA Cup, then getting a crucial win over Luton Town at the weekend. The Blades with a draw against Nottingham Forest last time out in the league do have an extra 24 hours to recover for this fixture, which could potentially play a role. But no, this should be really exciting. I'm pretty gutted it's not going to be on TV actually, but no, I'm sure it'll be a cracking atmosphere at Bramall Lane. And if one team does go on to lose it, they'll drop out of the playoff places. So yeah, so much to play for, so much on the line, and of course some added spice with Wilder returning as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, these are 2 sides right now that I really can't choose between in terms of a score prediction for tonight. Chris, how do you see this game panning out? Where do you think the game will be won and lost in particular?
Well, I think yeah, as you say, they are 2 very good sides. I think maybe the Sheffield United's performance against Forest has kind of put you off them a bit. I know Forest are a brilliant team as well and in form, but yeah, the Blades weren't at their best, and that was kind of, it was I wouldn't say worrying, because again, we've got to take into account that Forest are good, but it was a reminder that there's still a lot of work to do for Heckingbottom's side. So I think it's going to be tough. It's probably the wing backs we saw, Jed Spence, cause a lot of trouble, and it's going to be Isaiah Jones for Middlesbrough tonight against Osborne or Norrington Davis. Probably depends which way he goes. I think that is going to be the key area, that the pace and the direct style of Jones could potentially win the game for Middlesbrough, which is nothing new. We know how good he has been. I think he's the key man for them, and Sheffield United are going to have to try and stop him, which is obviously very difficult. I think Heckingbottom will probably admit he got the balance wrong up front on Friday against Forest. I think Gibbs White wasn't as effective when he's basically playing it seemed as a striker. When he dropped a bit deeper, I think within minutes he'd done a great bit of skill and put a cross onto Billy Sharp's head. So he's probably going to be the key man. They need to try and get him in those pockets, and if he can do, we know how good he is at this level. So yeah, I think it is 2 pretty even sides. Are probably just edged towards Middlesbrough, but Sheffield United are at home. So yeah, it's nothing really to separate them, is there?
No, it certainly is set to be a very close one tonight. Marcus, are these 2 sides you envisage finishing in the playoffs come May?
Yeah, without a doubt. I can see them cementing their position in there, and for it not really to be too nervy in the closing exchanges. That the turnaround is quite similar to sort of try and judge them looking at the 2 mid-season appointments, of course, of Heckingbottom and Wilder. Sheffield United joining the party maybe a little bit later, but of course, naturally, due to the games in hand they had with a lot of postponements in and around December. But no, I definitely see them finishing in the playoffs. As I mentioned, if one of them loses, they could drop out, but I don't think they'll be too gutted if that does happen. They know the strength of the opposition that they're playing against, and I expect it to be a very close game. Could end up being maybe a 0-0, cancel each other out. But no, I'm not worried about these two, even after full time tonight, whether they'll get in the top six. Certainly Boro I've been very hot on for a while, and I think Sheffield United, particularly with the amount of home games they've got to come as well, should be able to steer clear of some of the sides that have faltered in recent weeks and book their spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, I suppose Middlesbrough arguably coming into this game in the better form. 3 wins in their last 6 games. As for the Blades, only 2 wins in their last 6 games. They haven't won in their last 2. Right, let's get your score predictions then for this evening's game at Bramall Lane. Marcus, we'll start with you.
So similar to as Chris was alluding towards, I am edging towards Middlesbrough, but I just can't deny Morgan Gibbs-White. I don't think they are going to draw a blank. I do possibly look at the defences of these sides and look to that as a way that's going to carry them in their promotion push in the coming months. But yeah, I can see Middlesbrough maybe being the better side, but Sheffield United being able to have the crowd rally behind them and take a point late on. So I'm going for a 1-1 draw.
Okay, and Chris, what are you going for this one?
I'll go for 2-1 Middlesbrough, but I really wouldn't be surprised with any results. But it should be a great game.
Yeah, it's set to be a real cracker. Just a reminder, make sure to follow Alfie Burns on Twitter, our Football League One reporter. He will be live at Bramall Lane this evening for what is set to be a really, really exciting clash between 2 playoff chasers in the second tier this season. Right, let's look at another championship game next. Okay, we're going to take a look at Blackburn Rovers against Millwall this evening at Ewood Park. We have another one of our reporters, Toby Wilding, live at Ewood Park this evening for this interesting clash at the top end of the Sky Bet Championship. Blackburn coming into this game not in great form, only 1 win in their last 6 games, 4 defeats in their last 6. A stark contrast to Millwall, though, who come into this game off the back of 5 consecutive league wins. Their hopes of securing a playoff place are still very much alive ahead of this game tonight. Marcus, we'll come to you. If you're going off the form books, you'd be suggesting a Millwall victory tonight, wouldn't you?
Yeah, certainly. 4 of those 5 wins on the bounce have been by a single goal. And I think Millwall, even though their results have put them in such a strong position, the reliance on Jed Wallace is still there for all to see. I think the amount of assists that he's getting and overall influence that he has on a game has been crucial to Rowett's men's rise up the table, as it has been in recent years. I think maybe there's been a little bit too much made about Blackburn's drop-off in form just because of how nervy it is looking over your shoulder, not wanting to fall out of the playoffs completely. Obviously, Brereton Diaz's injury is a big loss, but I think looking at the likes of Giles and Dolan and Gallagher, even Pickering bombing on from wing back, they do have the quality to hurt Millwall. So even though they're going to go there full of confidence, I like the Blackburn back 3 as well. As you can see there, Wharton, Van Hecker and Darragh Lenihan have built a great relationship in the last few months. So I think this one's going to be a low-scoring game. Millwall don't tend to be high scorers, even against lower opposition in the table. So even though their recent form is very commanding, I do think Blackburn go into the match as rightful favourites.
Yeah, it's just worth touching upon. I know I mentioned 4 defeats from Blackburn's last 6 games. They've had a tough run of fixtures of late. You know, Blackburn have had Forest, West Brom, Sheffield United, QPR and Fulham. You know, in their last 5 games, you know, they're 5 of the more tricky games you'd imagine in the second tier. I'll come to you then, Chris, on this. Millwall only 3 points off the top 6 right now. Do you regard this game as almost like a must-win game for them if they have any genuine ambitions of finishing in the top 6?
No, I wouldn't say must win, because I think when the gap is only 3 points, obviously if they did lose, it will grow, because we've mentioned Sheffield United playing Middlesbrough, so the gap will widen. But I think whilst you're within 1 or 2 games, you never have to panic and say it is a must win. Obviously, if they do get the win, it is a real big win for them, though. So I think they'll be confident with that recent run. And I think Gary Rowett's touched on how he's mentioned how in these last 5 games they've found different ways to win. I think they weren't really great at Reading, and Cooper scores, so you centre half scoring and you grind out a 1-0. And he mentioned other times, I think they played QPR and he was really pleased with the performance. So the fact that they are getting back to the ways where they can play well, or even when they're not, they're getting results, that's obviously a positive. So I think they won't fear anyone in the league, will they? They can get results. They're hard to score against. That always gives you a real good chance. And as you've mentioned, even though Blackburn have had a really tough run, they are on a bad run of form. So Millwall will see this as a great opportunity. And then I think they got Middlesbrough at the weekend, so the big games keep coming for them. So I'd say over the next few weeks is a defining period where if they do lose these games, they will be out of the picture. But I think they'd happily take a draw tonight and keep themselves within touching distance anyway.
Yeah, again, a really tough game to call this evening in the Championship. Let us know in the comments what you think the result will be between Blackburn and Millwall this evening. Do you think Millwall can continue their fine run of form? 5 wins in their last 5 in the Sky Bet Championship. Marcus, just briefly, let's touch on some of the key personnel tonight. Who do you think could really make a say in tonight's game? Who do you think could have a real impact on tonight's result?
I think Giles is a key player on loan from Wolves, of course. Mowbray's sort of been a little bit hesitant to start him, brought Pickering back into the team when he came back from injury, when you could argue that left wing-back role is possibly the one that suits Giles the better. But if he is to be deployed in a more advanced role, I think that is quite an exciting proposition, particularly with a player with a physicality of Gallagher sort of trying to make his presence known against the big Millwall centre-back. So, yeah, for me, I think Giles, maybe similar to Morgan Gibbs-White, as we were talking about before, is a player that this could be their last sort of spell in the Championship before trying to make some first-team inroads in the Premier League next season. I think, yeah, his delivery is probably the standout thing, but I think given the personnel that Blackburn could have out tonight, that could be something that could make a key difference in what we've said, of course, is a very evenly matched encounter.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's get your score predictions then for Blackburn Millwall. Marcus, we'll start with you.
I'm going for a 0-0 draw. I think Millwall have been keeping a lot of clean sheets lately. Blackburn looking far less convincing in the final third. They kept a clean sheet in their last home match against QPR. So I think, yeah, evenly matched encounter. 2 back threes that know their roles really well. So, yeah, sadly for Toby, I think he's going to be watching a 0-0 tonight.
Okay, and Marcus go for a 0-0. Chris, what are you opting for tonight in terms of your score prediction?
Yeah, going for a draw as well. I'll go for a 1-1, so we might get to see a few goals. But yeah, I think Blackburn's home form has been very good on the whole, so I don't expect them to lose. But I think Millwall have got enough about them to take a point.
Okay, we shall see. As I've already said, Toby Wilding, one of our Football League reporters, will be live at Ewood Park, so make sure you're following him on Twitter for all the latest updates of the match. Right, let's look at one more Championship game next. Okay, another big game for Barnsley in particular. Tonight, they play host to Michael O'Neill's Stoke City at Oakwell. Barnsley have enjoyed a fairly good run of form over the course of the last 6 games. 3 wins in their last 6. I mean, they've only won 5 games all season, so it's been a nice patch of form for Asbaghi's side, but a really disappointing 2-0 defeat to Derby County last time out has really hindered their chances of avoiding the drop. But as it stands, they are 6 points off 21st place Reading. So tonight will be a massive game for Barnsley if they want to avoid the drop against the Stoke City side, who have been struggling of late. No wins in their last 5 games, 3 consecutive defeats coming into this match in Yorkshire. Marcus, this is bigger for Barnsley than it is for Stoke tonight, isn't it?
Certainly, yeah. Back-to-back wins they've got at Oakwell, so they'll be looking to build on that. But yeah, looking at from the flip side, Stoke City are quite unpredictable opposition, I think, potentially, because there is that freedom that they can play. We've got a lot of attacking players, and yeah, it's hard to read too much into Barnsley's recent form given the first half of the campaign, but this is the start of 4 home games of the next 5. So I think it's something that we're probably going to look back on as something that really does define whether they are going to be able to stay the course in this relegation battle or they are going to fall away. Obviously, yeah, hugely encouraging performances, especially the 3-2 win over Middlesbrough was a real statement victory. They almost announced themselves, overtook Derby County in the process after that win and showed themselves as a side that has changed a lot since the January transfer window. Obviously, you can see there Bassey and Keane are in attacking midfield. The 2 players that they really look to for inspiration in the final third, and Carlton Morris has come back in and shown himself to be what they were missing for a large part of the season in recent weeks. So, yeah, it's a massive game for Barnsley. I'm sure the fans will appreciate that and be right behind the team because, yeah, they are going to run out of time if they're not able to take maximum points from games like this. Usually when we get to this stage of the season and there's a club that is threatened with relegation, almost the perfect game for you is a home game against a team with not a lot to play for rather than someone near the top of fighting in and around you. So it's a huge match. Adam mentioned at the start of a big sequence of fixtures, if they can get off to a good start, then maybe even despite some of the poor showings, that it could be the start of some hope that they can survive the drop. So yeah, it is completely massive for Barnsley. Stoke look a little bit disillusioned with confidence at the moment. It's unclear where Michael O'Neill's future lies. So yeah, it's a nice fixture for Barnsley, and after their no-show almost at Pride Park at the weekend, I definitely want to bounce back.
Yeah, I think your point about the fact that how unpredictable Stoke City are, certainly in the last few weeks, it will play a big part tonight, because that is a team that is full of quality, but clearly is kind of lacking that cohesion and confidence right now to string a positive set of results together. Chris, we'll just focus in on Barnsley a little bit more. How important do you think Amin Bassey and Domingos Quina will be this evening? Because over the last few weeks, they've really come to the fore, haven't they?
Yeah, I think we've seen how they've transformed the side. Really, I think you can say in the final third, scoring goals has been a massive problem for Barnsley all season, and you could still say that it's something that they need to improve. But I think it's 5 goals in the 2 home wins, wasn't it? I think the 3 against Middlesbrough was as Marcus said, it was like a real statement that you shouldn't write them off just yet. And it was obviously it's a team effort, but those 2 have been the catalyst for it. So I think they've got to keep them in the team. They've got to keep feeding them the ball, and they've got to hope that they can create the chances for Morris and get on the score sheet themselves, because the Barnsley squad does lack depth and quality in the final third. But in those 2 players, they do have individuals who can win a game at this level.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a reminder to all those watching, get yourself in the comments. What your score predictions for the games this evening in the EFL. Let's get your score prediction for Barnsley Stoke as well. Marcus, let's get your score prediction then for Barnsley Stoke tonight.
We're sort of leaning towards the notion that I'm not really sure how this one's going to play out. I think Stoke could take some confidence by playing a side that has been so poor all season. So I'm going to go for a 3-2 win for Stoke City. I think Barnsley could show some good moments. But at the end of the day, I can't trust them defensively given what they've shown so far this season and that really poor performance at Derby. So I'm going 3-2 Stoke, an entertaining one.
Okay, Chris, what are you going for?
Yeah, it's another tough one to call, isn't it? So I'll probably keep it safe and go for a draw again. I'll go another 1-1.
Okay, there we go. Chris opting for a draw. Get yourself in the comments. We want to know your score predictions. Right, let's move to League One now. Okay, let's touch on Sunderland versus Fleetwood tonight. A big game for both sides for differing reasons. Sunderland just on the periphery of the playoff zone in League One, 1 point away from Sheffield Wednesday, who currently occupy 6th position. As for Fleetwood, they are sitting perilously down in 19th position, only 2 points above Morecambe in 21st position. So, as I've already said, a big game for differing reasons for both sides here. Okay, we'll come to you then, Marcus. I mean, Sunderland really need to be getting a result tonight, don't they? If they have genuine, ambitions of finishing in the playoffs, don't they?
Definitely, it's classed as a must-win game. The strength of the sides around them seems to be growing with the week. Sort of every week, you got Ipswich and Bolton sort of way behind them, but picking up win after win. And obviously, we've seen the resurgence at Sheffield Wednesday. Plymouth are in action tonight and got a game in hand on Sunderland as well. So when a team that's winless in 9 turn up at the Stadium of Light, you've really got to be taking 3 points given their predicament. Back-to-back clean sheets against Wigan and Charlton will have given them some confidence. Bailey Wright seems to be a real good leader for them at the heart of the defence in what has been some troubling times in the last few months. But I think they should just have enough to get over the line. Nathan Broadhead, of course, hasn't quite hit his strap since returning from injury, still sort of getting up to speed, but it is a real boost for the squad to have a player like him back in contention, given the quality that he showed in the first half of the season. So, yeah, it's a must-win game. Anything but that will definitely be deemed a failure and could cause some friction from the stands.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, Fleetwood winless in their last 9 league games. Their last win coming on January the 15th, right at the start of the year. Chris, will come to you. Alex Pritchard out for Sunderland this evening. He's picked up an injury. We don't know just yet how long he's going to be out for, but that's a big blow for Sunderland, isn't it? Because he's really started to impress in recent weeks and months, hasn't he?
It is, yeah. It's a real blow because he kind of made himself the main man, really, along with Ross Stewart in recent weeks. As you said, he was the one stepping up, scoring goals, taking the game by the scruff of the neck at times. So he's obviously going to be missed. I think what you would say, though, is it's an area of the pitch that, in theory, Sunderland should have enough depth. They've got a lot. I think, like we know, Patrick Roberts hasn't really made an impact at all since he's arrived, and there is a lot of quality in that final third, or there should be anyway. And it's down to Alex Neil to get the best out of these players, because there is an imbalanced squad, but in terms of creativity, there should be enough there. So now it's someone else has got to step up. I think we all know that over a 46-game season, you're going to have injuries, you're going to lose key men at times you don't want to, and then it's just down to how the squad can cope. So they need to see this as an opportunity for others to step up, because there still should be enough in that group to get results to get in games like tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose another interesting narrative to emerge from this particular game this evening is Jay Matete playing against his former club, Fleetwood Town. He's enjoyed a really impressive start for the Black Cats. Marcus, just how impressed have you been with Matete? A lot of Sunderland fans have been singing, giving him a lot of plaudits of late.
Yeah, very impressed. To handle that step up of expectation at his age is a credit to him, because, yeah, obviously you look at Highbury Stadium and compare it to the Stadium of Light, it's a very different experience. Obviously, it helps that he's got such an experienced pro at international and club level in Corey Evans alongside him to help him through, but he's definitely a more dynamic player in central midfield areas that Sunderland have probably needed for quite a while. And of course, it enables Winchester to come over to right back as well, where he's putting some good performances this season. So no, it's been a hugely positive start. And of course, being a youthful signing, Sunderland will definitely be hoping that he can develop and stay in the team for years to come. Of course, has been able to displace Dan Neil, who's been one of the more impressive young players to break through this season. So no, I've been very impressed with Matete. I'm sure he'll relish the opportunity to play against his former employers.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. As I said, please do get your comments in. What are your score predictions for Sunderland Fleetwood this evening? Do you think this game is a home banker? It's never that easy to say in the EFL, is it? Marcus, what is your score prediction for tonight?
Well, Fleetwood have been so poor going forward. They've drawn a blank in 3 of their last 4. And yeah, I think it is an intimidating prospect. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 Sunderland win. Maybe make it comfortable early on and then just coast and conserve a little bit of energy, because, of course, there are some huge matches on the horizon. 2-0 Black Cats. Okay,
Chris, what are you going for?
Yeah, it's always dangerous to call Sunderland a home banker, isn't it? But yeah, I do think they've got to win this one, haven't they? I'll go 3-1.
Okay, both Marcus and Chris thinking Alex Neil's side will win this evening. Right, let's look at another League One game. Okay, let's look at Bolton Wanderers up against Morecambe this evening. Somewhat similar to the game we've just spoken about. 2 teams with very differing ambitions at this stage of the season. Bolton currently sit in 11th place and have a very outside chance, you do feel, at this stage of reaching the playoffs. They are 7 points away from 6th place Sheffield Wednesday. As for Morecambe, they sit in 21st position in the relegation zone, 1 point adrift 2 points adrift from AFC Wimbledon and safety. So again, a big game for both sides. Arguably a bigger game for Morecambe here. Derek Adams now back at the club after what happened. Marcus, we'll come to you then. Bolton have been in good form of late. 4 wins in their last 6 games. They'll be going into this game with a lot of confidence, won't they?
Absolutely. It's been such a stark transformation, really, since January, bringing in so many players. They've even, for this midweek turnaround, I'd argue that Bolton are probably one of the best suited sides for this in League One, given the squad and the attacking quality that Ian Evatt can just chop and change. You've got Sadlier, Bakayoko, plenty of players to come in and express themselves. I'd probably argue that they've got the best pair of wing backs in the league, certainly in the last month or so, Marlon Fossey and Declan John. And James Trafford, of course, has made a great impact in between the sticks. So, yeah, I'd probably argue that this is even more of a home banker than Sunderland, if that was what you were interested in. Bolton have won 6 on the bounce at the Uni Bowl, and Morecambe are pretty poor. They rank rock bottom for the last 25 games, picked up just 17 points in that stretch. It is the positive start to the season that they made with Cole Stockton racing to double figures under Stephen Robinson that's kind of propping them up compared to falling right towards the bottom of the table. So, yeah, Bolton, much the better side here. Potentially Derek Adams will be hoping, I'm sure he's focusing on the defence first in terms of where they're going to get points from, what to sort out. But I think Bolton have just got too many options, so dynamic in the final third, too many players that can unpick them. So, yeah, I'd definitely be confident if I was a Trotters fan going into this one.
Yeah, you spoke about the influence of Bolton's wing backs. Marlon Fossey picking up 2 assists last time out against Gillingham, and Declan John also on the score sheet in that game. Just goes to show how important they are. Dion Charles has really hit the ground, hasn't he, at Bolton, Chris, of late. He could have a big say tonight, couldn't he?
Yeah, he can. We all know like the issues he had. He didn't play obviously until he got the move in January, and you always wonder how that not playing as much will have affected him, but it hasn't at all since he's arrived at Bolton. He's been brilliant, hasn't he? He's given them the clinical scorer that they've been lacking, really, because I think Everett was always maintained that they were playing well or they were creating chances, but this has given them the that difference maker in the final third. Obviously, it's not just him. There's others have stepped up as well, but they're a pretty formidable team now, Bolton, especially at home. I think it's 6 wins on the bounce. They're scoring goals. They're pretty relentless in the way they play as well. So, yeah, there's a lot to like about them. I think if they can keep key men fit, they'll fancy their chances of making that top 6.
Yeah, certainly a stern task for Derek Adams and his Morecambe side this evening. Marcus, let's get your score prediction then for this game tonight.
I'm going 3-1 Bolton, but I do think it could be more, to be honest. I think confidence is fragile at Morecambe at the moment. Really struggling to get anywhere close to a win. We're well off the pace at Plymouth Argyle at the weekend, and I think Bolton can capitalise on that. And as I mentioned, the second string is almost as strong as the first at Bolton at the moment. So, yeah, I think players playing for their places should help them sort of hit the ground running and be able to take advantage of the Shrimp. So, yeah, 3-1 Bolton.
Okay, Chris, what's your score prediction?
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. I think 2-0 Bolton. I think there's a gap in quality between these two, and you'd expect it to show later on.
Yeah, we shall see. Just a reminder, get yourself in the comments. What's your score prediction for Bolton, Morecambe this evening at the Uni Bowl? Let us know. Right, we're going to touch on one more League One game next. Okay, let's touch on Plymouth Argyle. They take on AFC Wimbledon this evening. Wimbledon really, really struggling at the bottom end of the Sky Bet League One table. They sit in 20th position right now, 2 points above Morecambe. So are still above the relegation zone, but they haven't won a game since December 2021. They just can't buy a win at the moment, Mark Robinson's side. As for Plymouth, they are very much still in the playoff hunt in League One. 8th position right now, 2 points away from Sheffield Wednesday in 6th position. They've won 4 games out of their last 6. Schumacher's side are, like I said, very much hot on the heels of the playoff places right now. Marcus, again, we come back to the form books on this one. Is this another home banker tonight?
Well, it's a similar spectacle, definitely. I think from Portsmouth's perspective, it's similar to Sunderland in how much they need to pick up a win against a side battling relegation. I don't think Wimbledon have been quite as bad as the 17-match winless run would suggest, but that's the way it's played out, and they're in a very dangerous situation looking over their shoulders as it is. Plymouth have got some games in hand on the top six as well, so that makes it even more critical that they are able to pick up those wins. They've been very set in their formation. It's carried over from Ryan Lowe to Schumacher, and I do like their back three. A lot of them signed in the summer, and they've been building a strong relationship. It's quite a long trip for a midweek game. Don't know if that will play a part, but yeah, that sometimes plays into it a little bit. They've got plenty of strong attackers. Hardy and Jeffcott have been in good form this season and will fancy their chances against a low on confidence Wimbledon side. So I do expect Plymouth to pick up a victory, but I don't think it'll be as straightforward as maybe the form line suggests.
Okay, just sticking on with you, Marcus. Actually, I mean, which AFC Wimbledon players do you feel could have an impact tonight? I mean, lots spoken about Jack Rudoni and his influence in attacking areas. Do you think he's someone that could potentially garner a positive result for Mark Robinson's side?
Yeah, definitely. I think Rodoni is the standout. Luke McCormick as well has had a good season. Attacking midfielder, was on the books at Chelsea and is in his first season at Wimbledon as a permanent signing. So I think that could be. There's lots of players in this side that you think maybe in a few years they could really kick on and be one of the better players in their position in League One or even higher up. And I think that stands Wimbledon in good stead, even if they are going to suffer relegation this season. But I do lean towards Rodoni. Yeah, he's made a good impact since coming back from injury. Obviously, hasn't been able to push them on the right side of a result. But I think Rodoni is, the main player that stands out in this side that possibly, if they are relegated to League Two, he won't be there anymore.
Yeah, Wimbledon, definitely one of the more youthful sides in the EFL. You only have to look at the graphic on screen. An average age of 23.4 throughout their squad. It is a very youthful team. Okay, let's get your score predictions for Plymouth Wimbledon tonight. Then, Marcus, we'll start with you.
I'm going 1-0 Argyle. I think Wimbledon can make it competitive, but Plymouth will be able to grind it out. They've got too much quality all over the pitch. I think it'll be a gritty one. 1-0.
Okay, Chris, what are you going for tonight?
Yeah, going for 2-1 Plymouth. I think Wimbledon have shown. I think they drew with Sunderland, didn't they? They can be competitive on the day, as Marcus touched on. But I think Plymouth should have just a bit extra quality in the up top, which will make the difference.
Okay, get yourself in the comments. What do you think of Plymouth Wimbledon tonight? Let us know your score predictions. Right, we're going to touch on one more game. We're going to go down to League Two for that. Okay, we've got another really, really intriguing counter at the top end of League Two. Exeter City take on Swindon Town this evening. 7th versus 8th. Exeter currently just 1 point away from Swindon right now, but they do have 2 games in hand on Swindon. So tonight could have a real big say on the final top 7 in League Two come May. Both teams come into this game on relatively similar form. Both have won 4 out of their last 6 games. Swindon coming into this game off the back of a win. As for Exeter, they lost last time out. Marcus, let's come to you then. This really is set up to be a really intriguing encounter, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. One of the more sort of goal-laden games. I think that this one jumps off the page as definitely one that could be entertaining for a neutral, maybe. Some high heart rates in the crowd, given what's at stake and the nature of these two sides. They can be quite gung-ho, particularly Ben Garner's men. I'd say at their best, Swindon are probably the better side, but they've been far less consistent than Exeter. I'd say the Grecians at their base level are probably the better side, although Swindon, when they turn up, are arguably just as good as the likes of Forest Green. It's just been a case of how often they are able to put in those types of performances. Exeter have got games in hand, which puts them in a good position if they are able to bounce back and get into the playoff places. And they've won 3 of their last 4 on their home patch as well. So there'll be no lack of confidence for either side. I think Archie Collins and Timothy Dieng in centre mid for Exeter, you're not going to get many central midfield duos better than that in League Two. So I think Exeter have plenty of reasons to be confident going into this one. And I'm not too worried about losing to Mansfield. We've seen the rise that Nigel Clough's men have been on this season. It was only a 2-1 game, and I think Clough said after the game that Exeter are one of the best sides they've played all season. So I think they'll be happy to get back on home turf and take on a Swindon side that will definitely leave them some opportunities to penetrate in the final third because of the manner that Ben Gunner likes to play his football.
Yeah, like you say, Marcus, 2 very attacking sides playing this evening at St James's Park. Chris, do you expect goals tonight in this one?
Yeah, I don't want to put the jinx on it, do we? But there's got to be. I think, as Marcus just mentioned there, Exeter at Mansfield last time out, they were like very, very good. I think it was 10 shots on target in a game that they did lose. But again, it just shows the attacking threat that they do boast. And we've touched on the Swindon players there and the quality they have. So yeah, it is one that you would expect goals, and it's a game that with so much on it, knowing that how close they are in the league, that you hope the players will be going for it and recognise the importance of a win. So yeah, it's 2 of the better attacking teams, 2 of the more informed teams in recent weeks. So yeah, I think it should be one that the fans will enjoy.
Yeah, definitely all set up to be a very exciting game this evening. Marcus, let's get your score prediction for this one.
I'm going to go 3-2 to Exeter, maybe a little reminiscent of that incredible 4-3 they had over Harrogate, I think it was a few weeks ago. There's a lot of momentum there, nice stability with Matt Taylor. I think Exeter can get the win and push themselves back into the playoffs.
Okay, and Chris, what are you going for?
I think go for another draw, I'll go for 2-2. There's 2 good teams here, 2 should be goals, as we said. So, yeah, I think it'll be 2-2, and a point isn't the worst result for either.
Yeah, watch this one end up 0-0 this evening. There we go. Marks and Chris predicting goals this evening down in Devon as Exeter take on Swindon in League Two. Right, well, that concludes the EFL midweek preview show here on Football League World TV. We've ran through some of the more interesting games across the English Football League this evening. Marcus, Chris, thanks for joining me this afternoon. Thanks for everyone that tuned in to watch, and thanks for all your comments. If you are watching this on repeat on YouTube, please do stick a like in below this video and subscribe to our channel. It really, really does help us grow as we look to reach a wider audience as we progress. But from myself, Marcus and Chris, we shall see you soon.